Brooke Vines, for those few of you in here that I don't know, that I'm sure I'll know by the end of the day.
And I'm Touseef. And I'm so happy that all of you are here to join us today. This was a long time coming, and we're really excited that we can share this with all of you today.
It's especially fun with me since I've grown up in advertising with so many of the people in this room. Before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, because truly the philosophy of this conference is about sharing knowledge, and every one of these sponsors has the same philosophy that we do. And if it weren't for their investment in this conference, your tickets would have cost $750. So can we please stand up and thank you. Patrick Hanlon in his book, Primal Branding, talks about how there are 7 points in creating a successful brand, and the first one is the creation story. So I just thought we would briefly start there and how we came here. In 2004, I started a traditional media buying agency. It was before there was really a whole lot going on in digital, and we've evolved through the years with a lot of different kinds of clients, had a great business. And, you know, like every other business, we've been struggling to evolve in the last decade or so. 2 years ago, I guess, I went to Advertising Week because New York, to me, looked like the center of the universe. And I was trying to get some questions answered here. And I thought that if I went there, that I would be able to see the future and that I would be able to get my questions answered. And that year, there were a lot of buzzwords and a lot of people saying things that didn't make a lot of sense. And what I found was that a lot of people like me had the same questions that I did. There were 2 takeaways that I got out of that conference. One was that digital is changing so fast that we often don't know how to focus. And as a small business owner, that means I don't know where to invest my time and resources in which path to go down. But there's no wrong answers, really. It's just, what do I want to do with my life? And the second thing that year, and remember, this was 2 years ago, so this isn't really news, but there was an overriding theme in every track that I went to about how difficult it was to manage millennials. And this is before Gen Z was a conversation, but everybody was complaining about this new workforce. And I got really curious about that and pursued the topic for a year by launching a qualitative survey and asking a lot of managers and HR people and business owners if they were having these challenges. And my research, there was some complex, I came to some conclusions, but what I found out really was that there wasn't anything wrong with millennials or the workforce in general, but there was a huge breakdown in communication happening in large part because of technology, and that was really happening across every group of people that disagree, that we've lost dialogue in a lot of cases, and we all know that. And so it came full circle when Touseef and I went to hear Keith Reinhardt. He's a very wise man from DDB Worldwide. He was speaking, and he was talking about how if you're overwhelmed by trying to keep up with technology right now, then just wait 5 or 10 years from now, it's going to be even worse. But no matter how advertising changes, human nature remains timeless. And Touseef and I just looked at each other and exhaled. And we knew that we had found our North Star for how to navigate through this fast-paced time. And that conversation turned into this conference.
Thank you, Brooke. So, so I wanted to expand a little bit more on what Brooke just spoke about in terms of how this conference was put together. So I've been in the advertising industry for a long time as well. And I would say a lot since the past 5 years. There's been really a lot of focus and primary focus on digital outputs and technology and social media. And what I realize is that that's fine. I think that technology and digital platforms are the shiny new toy for the industry. So everybody wants to play with it, want to try to figure it out and know how to use it. But beyond that, I think primarily we need to go back to basics and really understand how to really connect with your audience on a humanistic level. Why would they want to have the product or the service, or why would they be turned on by your idea? And it's to really understand the yearnings of people as well in storytelling. And once you have that in place, then you can leverage that through technology and not the other way around. So the way that we've put the conference together actually is in 3 sections. We wanted to have a comprehensive view of what does connecting really mean. So first of all, it starts really with connecting with yourself. What we mean by that is if you understand yourself as a human being in terms of what's going on emotionally, your thoughts and so forth, you will also be able to understand better how your audience is thinking, because they are human beings too. We're all the same species. So it's really to be able to tap into that area to understand how you could impact to a broader audience. So that's the first part. And then the second part is more in terms of your team, because how are you going to create this amazing product or service that's going to resonate and is going to be meaningful to your customer or to your client? You're going to need your team. So again, it's about relationships and really understanding how to create a productive, innovative, and harmonious environment so a great product can develop from there. And finally, when you have that second piece of the product with your team, then you go to the third part, which is really now you have your great product and you need to now sell it or influence your audience out into the world. And now it's again through storytelling and human nature. So the whole conference really came about, and it's about impact in the digital age as it pertains to humanistic values that starts with you, your team, and then the market. In essence, this is sort of, if we can just like sum it up really quickly, is to make sure that you focus on what are you communicating first about your content and about your product first, and then you leverage that through digital and technology. Because technology is not going to solve all your problems. Technology is an amazing medium that we have right now to transmit that information. But what you're transmitting is what you need to really focus on. So how do you create impact? How do you create impact in this crazy information overload world that we live in, where everything is vying for our attention at every moment? It is pretty difficult. I think there's many factors that can affect impact. But I think, again, you need to start from the beginning. You need to make sure that what you're creating and the message that you're putting out in the world is really in the direction where you want your ship to go. And make sure wherever it goes a little bit off course, that you make sure to realign it and always go in the direction that you established to go. So one of the ways that you can really do this, and I've been a brand consultant for a couple of years, is really to start understanding your brand. Understanding your brand in terms of what is really the definition of the brand. Make sure that everybody that works for you also understands what that means. That is actually going to really help you, guide you in terms of understanding what content you need to create, which is then going to inform you the marketing. A lot of the times what I found out in agency world is that we do branding work, or the client will do branding work, and then they'll be done with the branding work, they'll put it on the shelf, and then they'll turn around and say, okay, what are we doing for marketing? And branding is not a philosophical exercise. Like, branding is really to understand at the core what you need to focus on, and then you can actually use that and embed that into the content and how you need to communicate, and then move on to marketing. But I wanted to do a quick exercise just to look at different concepts of advertising and marketing so that everybody here has the same framework. So I know all of you know what marketing is, but in the most simplistic way of showing what marketing is if you have a product, a man, or a service, depends how you want to look at it, you have the product saying, I'm a great lover, and it's basically saying that message to a potential customer. So it is really the transmission of that message from a product to a customer. That is essentially marketing in the most simplistic way. So then if this is marketing, then what is advertising? Advertising is the same thing, except it's repetition. So you're still using the same marketing message, but now you're going to be repeating it over a long period of time, or you're going to be using it in different channels, but you're still saying the same message. You can be using omni-channel, so it depends how you relate that, but it's the same message over and over. Another concept of influence that we use is PR. So public relations, in this situation, it's not the product or the service talking, but now you have a third party that wants to influence, again, the potential customer. And then finally, branding is the person themselves. So the actual customer that you are trying to convince has an impression about what your product is. And the product isn't really doing anything at that point, it's just being there. So if we really simplify what branding means, it's how people perceive your offering. It's how they feel about it. It's what their impression. And if you look at all the four next to one another, if you look at all the four, really the main difference of all the four, and the bottom one, the bottom right one is the branding one, is the first three, people are just trying to convince the customer. The bottom right branding, you don't have to convince that person anymore. And mind you, she could have also really, she could say, I heard you're a really bad lover. You know, it could go both ways also. But it's your impression in terms of what it is that you feel about the product. So a clear and effective brand is essential for impact, and it will help you really understand which direction you need to go. So in terms of how to create that brand definition, there are many different ways to do that. In my own experience, what I found, I would always do like a document on branding that would look at all different facets of the product. And one of the most helpful areas was what I call my 3 C's. I have holding to them, but 3 C's. The first is about the company. So to make sure that you know who you are as a company, what your product does, what the features are. Number 2 is the customer, second C. The customer is really about what is the value that you're bringing to the customer. What are they yearning for? Are you really addressing that with your product? And the third one is competition. Do you have a differentiating product that is unique in the marketplace? So by taking into account those 3 areas, you can really come up with a really strong brand definition that could help you guide throughout your marketing. Another way to really look at it, one more thing I wanted to say. What I found with my clients when I was a consultant is a lot of the times people really focus on the first C, which is the company. It's all about me, me, me. I have a great product. You should buy me because I'm great. And I would always try to flip it. I'm not saying that it's not important to talk about your company, but really flip it and talk about your customer and say, why should they be interested in this? And put yourself in their shoes and say more, you will be great because you have this product, not we are great. Another way that we can also look into brand definition is there's a few books out there that are really good. One which is called ZAG, Z-A-G, by Marty Neumeyer. And another one is from our very own speaker that's going to speak today, Patrick Hanlon. And he wrote a book that's called Primal Branding. And he basically goes into the 7 primal codes that you can really look into and define that will help to viscerally connect with your audience. I wanted to show a quick example of what a potential brand definition could be in terms of a brand essence. So in this case, we're going to do our core connect. We did a big document, but these are the 3 main words that we came up with. So for us, what was really important in our brand definition was truthful, practical, and inspiring. We looked at the 3 C's. We looked at it a lot in terms of what was needed also in the marketplace. And we really want to be truthful about digital transformation and where to focus on. And these 3 words have really helped us, guide us at every point in different touch points. So whenever we promoted our event, we made sure, okay, is it truthful? Is it inspiring? If it's not, we would maybe change it a little bit. We might change it altogether. We could modify a couple of things. It also guided us in terms of the types of speakers that we wanted to have here. So when you start looking at something as simplistic as this and you say, is this on brand? Is this really emanating what we're doing? Is it really emanating what we're doing? It's really important because if you're really clear with that, your customer is also going to be really clear in understanding who you are. And God knows there's so many messages we get. If they're clear about you, they know what you stand for, they know who you are, and it goes back to you're a great lover. They know who you are. and that's important. The last thing I wanted to say on this is, the way I see it, branding is really bringing the soul to a product. That's what it really is. All of us here, we're all individuals, we all have a personality, we all have some energy, we all have our individual souls, and that's why we connect with different people. But a product, this is plastic, it doesn't really hold anything. So you have to create that soul for that product. And that is really, in essence, that people are going to connect to. It's not going to be the product, it's what it stands for.